This is the story of how an average rancher, pushed to the absolute brink by a rogue homeowners association, didn't just win the war, he literally devastated their operating budget and forced the entire board to resign in a matter of 72 hours. Their grand, spiteful plan to block his $2 million property with a 6-foot privacy fence turned into the most expensive, humiliating blunder in neighborhood history. Because when they illegally blocked the only easement access to his land, our protagonist didn't call a lawyer, he installed a fully automated, $150 per car electronic toll booth right on his property line. The HOA thought they had him trapped. They were wrong. They were now his captive customers. Welcome to Neighborhood Nightmare, where the petty drama is nuclear. If you've ever dealt with a power-tripping Karen or a corrupt HOA, you know this feeling. Today's story is pure, high-octane vindication. So smash that like button until it cracks, hit subscribe for more neighborhood justice. And let us know in the comments what's the pettiest thing your HOA has ever done. Let's get into it. Our story begins in the affluent but sprawling suburb of Willow Creek, specifically with a man we'll call Jake, a known-sense third-generation rancher who owned a beautiful 40-acre parcel of land bordered on one side by the newer, tightly controlled Willow Creek estates. Jake's property wasn't officially part of the HOA, but the only legal recognized access point to his land. A gravel service road used for his livestock and feed deliveries ran directly through a 50-foot easement across the corner of the HOA's territory. This easement had been in place for over 70 years. Enter Brenda, the newly elected HOA president. Brenda was the quintessential neighborhood tyrant, armed with the CC&Rs she treated like holy scripture. Her primary obsession? The aesthetics of the subdivision. The service road, she declared, was an eyesore. Dusty, ugly, and occasionally a feed truck dared to leave a stray tire track. The initial conflict was minor, a volley of increasingly passive-aggressive letters. First, a demand that Jake sweep the entire length of the easement daily. He ignored it. Then, a $50 fine for unauthorized commercial vehicle usage. Jake's lawyer sent a strongly worded cease and desist, citing the established easement rights. Brenda escalated, of course. She pushed a motion through the board, which consisted of her two best friends and her meek husband, to install a decorative buffer wall along the entire length of Jake's property line. Jake informed the HOA, via registered mail, that any structure placed on the 50-foot easement would be considered a direct and illegal obstruction of his property access. The board ignored it, claiming the easement only granted passage. It's not the right to prevent beautification. On a Tuesday morning, Jake woke up to the deafening sound of pneumatic drills. By noon, a solid 6-foot-tall cedar plank privacy fence had been erected. It completely and maliciously blocked his main access gate, turning his ranch into a useless, landlocked island. He couldn't get his tractor in, couldn't get his feed truck in. He was quite literally locked out of his own life. The only thing missing was the final piece, the gate. The fence stopped just shy of the official access point, leaving a massive, open 12-foot gap. Jake realized they wanted him to be forced to beg them to install a gate that they could control. He was trapped. He walked down to the gap, the construction crew packing up with smug grins, and saw the final, empty, insulting space. He pulled out his phone and made 2 calls. One to his lawyer, and one to a specialty construction firm that owed him a huge favor. The sun set on his land, inaccessible, and Jake smiled, a cold, hard, dangerous smile. The following morning, Brenda sent Jake a condescending email, gloating about the lovely new aesthetic and promising to install a remote-controlled gate after he submitted an application for DARD, service road use privileges. Jake's lawyer prepared an emergency injunction, but it would take days. Days Jake didn't have. This was pure intentional malice. But Brenda had overlooked one critical fact. The easement was private property belonging to Jake for the purpose of ingress and egress. The massive gap they left was still his legal access point. Jake's specialty construction crew arrived at 4 a.m., operating under complete secrecy. They brought prefabricated concrete bollards, electronic security gear, and a heavy-duty commercial-grade automatic barrier arm. By 8 a.m., before the first HOA resident was fully awake, the gap was gone. In its place stood a formidable state-of-the-art access gate system. It wasn't a decorative swinging gate. It was a professional, industrial toll plaza. The prominent sign read in bold letters, "Private Easement Access. All unauthorized vehicles subject to toll. $150. Failure to pay subject's vehicle to immediate towing at owner's expense. Nitrogen monoxide exceptions. The key, the toll was explicitly for unauthorized vehicles. The HOA's vehicles having illegally placed a fence around Jake's access point were now completely dependent on that same access point to reach their own service road, which the HOA used for their landscape maintenance, sprinkler systems, and trash collection. The only way to get to the service road was through Jake's newly tolled access point. Brenda was the first to discover the trap. She sped down the service road in her golf cart, only to slam on the brakes in front of the steel barrier. She read the sign and called Jake's direct line listed on the toll box. Jake answered. "Welcome to the Willow Creek Ranch access point," he said. "The $150 toll is to cover the immediate installation and ongoing maintenance of the security structure necessary to prevent further trespass and obstruction. If you wish to pass, the fee is non-negotiable. Do you wish to pay the toll and proceed, or should I dispatch the tow truck?" Brenda, absolutely livid, refused and backed up. The real fun began an hour later when the regular waste management truck arrived. They couldn't access the dumpsters. The driver called a supervisor. The supervisor called the HOA. Brenda had to send her husband to pay the $150 cash toll out of his own pocket just to get the trash collected. Then came the landscape crew, another $150. Then the pool tech, another $150. The floodgates of humiliation and financial bleeding were open. The HOA was utterly helpless, their own spiteful fence now trapping them. They couldn't tear down the gate. It was on Jake's private easement. They couldn't get an injunction faster than Jake could, and every essential service they needed was held hostage. The HOA's entire system was now in lockdown. They were cornered, and the only option left was the one that led to true disaster, fighting the easement. Jake watched from his second-story window as Brenda and her cronies stood at the gate, absolutely beside themselves. They had tried to ban him. Now he was banning them. Brenda's emergency injunction was filed late that afternoon. Jake and Mr. Thompson were ready. Thompson didn't just countersue. He hit the HOA with a claim for compensatory damages totaling $100,000 for loss of business use, emotional distress, and deliberate obstruction. The hearing was held via Zoom. The HOA's lawyer argued that Jake was unjustly enriching himself. Thompson simply presented the certified land survey showing the 70-year-old easement, followed by photos of the illegal fence. "Your Honor," Thompson stated calmly, "my client's property was unlawfully landlocked by the HOA's unilateral construction. The $150 security fee is a reasonable, necessary measure to secure and maintain his private vested access point after the defendant's illegal action." The HOA created the problem. A client created the solution. The judge didn't even take a recess. He issued an immediate, scathing ruling. He denied the HOA's emergency injunction, finding Jake's actions were a reasonable self-help remedy in the face of egregious and willful property rights violation. He gave the HOA 72 hours to entirely remove their illegal fence or face a $5,000 per day fine. He gave Jake the green light to continue operating his private security gate until access was restored to his satisfaction. The video feed of Brenda's face was priceless. She was literally shaking. The HOA's entire reserve budget was now potentially on the line. The pressure from the residents was unbearable. The HOA had to act immediately. They called Jake, offering to compromise. Jake simply said, "My security gate remains until the judge's order is fulfilled. The fee is $150. You want to send your crew to take down the fence? That'll be a $150 toll for the truck. You want to pay off the $100,000 in damages? Then we can talk about removing the gate." The HOA was defeated. They were forced to hire the same construction crew that had built the fence at an exorbitant rush rate to tear it down within the 72-hour window. The demolition of the fence became a neighborhood spectacle. Residents gathered, not out of support for the board, but out of schadenfreude. Every vehicle used to remove the fence had to pay the $150 toll on the way in and on the way out. Jake watched as the HOA's treasurer physically handed over thousands of dollars in toll money over a 2-day period, every single dollar meticulously documented by Jake's automated system. The financial fallout was immediate and crippling. The failed injunction, the rush rate demolition, and the accumulated tolls drained the HOA's operating budget entirely. Within 48 hours of the judge's order, a special emergency board meeting was called. The atmosphere was toxic. Residents were incandescent with rage. Brenda tried to defend her actions, but she was quickly shouted down by emotion of no confidence. It was unanimous. The fallout was devastating. Brenda, her two crony friends, and her long-suffering husband all resigned, effective immediately. The HOA was effectively rudderless and financially insolvent. But Jake wasn't done. Now that the fence was completely removed, Mr. Thompson filed the next legal motion. It was for a permanent injunction against the HOA, against their ability to ever issue a fine, communicate, or take any action whatsoever against Jake's property, citing their established pattern of willful legal malice. The argument was simple. The HOA demonstrated they could not be trusted regarding the easement, so they forfeited any right to govern Jake's property in the future. The judge granted the motion. This was the ultimate satisfying revenge. Jake's 40-acre ranch was now legally banned from being touched by the HOA. No fines, no letters, no rules. He had secured total, permanent immunity, was now free to do whatever he pleased, and the HOA could do absolutely nothing but watch. The final check for the $100,000 settlement was sent to Jake's lawyer, a necessary and painful drain on the HOA's already depleted reserves. The toll booth, however, still stood. The new HOA board, led by a deeply apologetic new president, begged Jake to remove the toll booth. They promised full cooperation and a signed, notarized agreement guaranteeing his easement rights forever. The $150 toll was a persistent financial drain and a psychological scar. Jake had one final nail to drive into the coffin of Brenda's legacy. He called the new president. "I will remove the security gate under one condition," Jake said. "I want a plaque." The new president, anticipating a demand for land or money, practically sighed with relief. A plaque. Done. Where do you want it? 2 weeks later, a beautifully polished bronze plaque was installed at the entrance of the service road, right where the old fence used to start. It was positioned on a small, decorative stone pillar. What a story of poetic justice. That's the stuff nightmares are made of for the HOA, that is. It's the sheer audacity of the toll booth strategy, $150 a pop. Let me know what you thought was the most shocking moment in the comments below. Is it the fence going up, the judge's ruling, or that final epic plaque? Don't forget to subscribe for more neighborhood drama and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into HOA hell. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.